and goodbye. And I wonder if we should just keep going through session the next one. What do you think?
Sure.
I was gonna
They'll follow.
Yeah, I thought I might end it and then re-record,
but yeah,
I ain't got time for that. I think they'll figure it out. Angie's pretty savvy. Okay, let me write down a new time, old time. That was about 20 minutes. That went pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 18 to 39. Okay, so then, all right, it looks like you're in the same location as before. You're at home again today?
Yes.
Great. And still a good private place to talk, or?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I wanted to check in on how the week was. How's the week been for you?
It's been okay.
Okay. I know last week we chatted a little bit about just kind of mental health and how some challenges you've had with that in the past. So I wanted to check in on how last week was for you, especially after the fact. Like, how was it after the session?
It was okay. It was okay. Like I napped.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friend, I think we used maybe, and then we walked around the city, so it was fine.
Okay. You smoked, or what did you?
He had a little bit of meth, so we smoked that.
Okay. And I remember last time we talked, you said that sometimes when you use meth and you're feeling kind of down, it can lead to having more energy than you would prefer to have. Did you notice any of that, or?
No, it was fine last week. I mean, I think because I'd also slept a little, so I felt a little bit more relaxed before I had it, and it also wasn't that much, so
okay.
It ended up being okay.
Okay, cool. So let's pretend like I sent you some crisis resources between this time. So I wanted to just also check in to see if you got those resources I sent you with the numbers and the links of places to go. And I don't know, I'm just curious if you've used any of those before or what you thought about those resources.
I know one of the resources. I've been given that one before, once when I was leaving the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened the email, but I didn't call anybody.
Okay. I think that the two I really want to make sure to highlight for you is the 24/7 crisis line is a really good one to use because they're open all the time, and it's just something you can call anonymously and get some support from a counselor anytime you need it. And then the other one I want to point out is the text hotline too, because sometimes we may not want to chat on the phone, but you can just text somebody and get some support in the same way. So I just wanted to highlight those two. And of course, you can always use me as a support too. If you are feeling, you're having thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself, or even if it's outside of the session, let us know and we can see how we can get you some support.
Okay.
So, yeah. I appreciate you being kind of honest about that or being honest about that. I know that's sometimes difficult to talk about, but we're here to kind of help you in any way we can with that.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So today I wanted to kind of follow up on some of the stuff we talked about last week about just, your mental health and the feelings of depression and those symptoms and the anxiety around what's happened in your past, and really see what ways we can kind of brainstorm to best help you in those areas. And I know we talked about the job and the housing and the school, and those are big things to focus on. And I know we kind of highlighted that sleep is a big thing too. So I guess I'm wondering, just before we get kind of jumping right into it, is there anything that we missed that might be important things to talk about for your mental health, or things that if improved, you'd feel like overall you'd be doing better?
No, I think the housing and work thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually curious, we didn't really talk about it last week, but like what, if any, have you done any kind of like mental health treatment in the past? Counseling or medication?
I don't think so. No, I haven't.
No.
But the doctor that I see for the HIV mentioned it, and then like when I was a kid, I had to see it. And when I was a kid, the family doctor mentioned it too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, like mentioned that you might seek some treatment for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like my parents didn't believe it, so we didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about doing it as an adult?
Kind of, not really.
Yeah.
I just feel like my life is too chaotic. Like I know I'm not going to be able to meet with someone at a consistent time every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like to go to their office.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could do like the online, what is it, like BetterHelp or something. So, like,
Yeah, there's a lot of like telehealth kind of options. Mm-hmm.
Those things are expensive. They're not as cheap as people think.
Yeah.
And then I know that the general, we can get a therapist there, but that also seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, it can be a big barrier to going to get that kind of treatment because of like the regular appointments and you know, if you miss so many, you might lose your slot and all of that. Yeah.
Also, like I just feel like doctors are always just like looking to tell me that I have a substance use issue, and I don't want to deal with that either. I just don't want to deal with the judgment. Like I'd rather just keep my demons.
Mm-hmm. And as a pause, the computer says it needs to restart. I'm not going to touch anything.
My computer?
No, mine does.
Oh, your computer. Oh, okay.
So if it just like goes black, you know why.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that there are some barriers to more like traditional therapy. But you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can do treatment for mental health stuff. So outside of like therapy, do you know of like other types of treatment?
I mean, like yoga and stuff.
Yeah, that's a big one too. There's a lot of self-help stuff you can do. Yoga's one. I think you mentioned before that you like to walk and exercise. That's a big one as well. Even changes in like your diet can help a lot. You know, even having some social support with people who are kind of strong, you know, supportive people, friends or family, or that's a big thing. Music, there's tons of different art, there's tons of different kind of self-help things that help with mental health. And then aside from that, you know, there are the typical things we think of like therapy, which could be weekly, it could be bi-weekly, it could be monthly. Sometimes people even have therapy that occurs in the context of like a social worker or a case manager that helps them with mental health, but also helps them with things like finding the housing, getting the secure, you know, food or whatever they might need. There's medicine, of course. I know you had mentioned that you're taking some CBD for sleep right now. But there's definitely, you know, medicines out there, doctors out there that can help prescribe other kinds of medicines for sleep. So there's all kinds of different like avenues to get mental health support. Some that include going to a weekly session, and some of them that really don't, you know, some of them you can do all on your own. So have you ever, it sounds like you've done some of the self-help stuff.
Well, like I've looked into it. I haven't really done anything. Like the walking just happens if it's like, you know, like it just like clears my head or trying to clear my head. But that's pretty much the only thing I've done. I mean, the CBD, I can buy some tablets from him, but I can't afford to like have a tablet every night. It's just too expensive. I mean, I guess I could get out my own card, but I don't know how much that would cost if I wanted to get my own prescription or my own bottle, I guess. But yeah, those are the only things I've tried.
Yeah, and I don't know how much that would cost either, of like price of that. I'm not really familiar with how much a full bottle would be.
Like, he gives them to me for like $5 a tablet, but like in a week that's $25. In a month,
yeah, that's an expensive thing to keep up, right? Yeah,
that adds up really quickly.
Yeah. Well, you know, like,
buy it, or I only use them when I absolutely need to.
Yeah, and there are a lot of things that you can do for self-help for sleep too, right? Like, so we talked about, like, online they have like sometimes like the cheesy like sleep hygiene kind of stuff, which, you know, can help, but sometimes it's hard to do, like put your phone away or like be in a safe, you know, comfortable place, and that's not always attainable for everyone. But sometimes, you know, things such as like trying to get on a routine as best as you can helps. Trying to get up and go to sleep at the same time, give or take each day. You know, if you are interested in it in the future, like I said, there are medicines that help with sleep, and you can see a psychiatrist or even your primary care doctor through your Medi-Cal that you told me about the first session. So like those kind of medicines would be covered under your Medi-Cal. So.
Yeah, maybe I should look into it. I think I just have a very maybe biased opinion of doctors, but
do you feel like you've had like, I don't know, like some negative experiences with them in the past, or?
I just feel like they're busy and they just want to pacify you. But at the same time too, like if I go in saying that I need, you know, like I can't sleep, they're either going to say like, I'm looking for meds, or it's because I use meth, and you know, I just feel like they don't listen.
Yeah, no, I can totally hear you. Like they don't have tons of time for each person, and when they do, they make sometimes, unfortunately, like really rash and incorrect judgments about people. Yeah, and you know, sometimes you can kind of avoid that in some ways by working directly with your primary care person. I know you're with a actually I can't remember, but let's just assume you're with a primary care person that you trust. I don't know if this person is or not, but are you with a primary care person?
I don't even think I go to the hospital. Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay.
I only go to the hospital when like I'm super duper sick.
Oh, okay. I see.
So that's why all my encounters have been awful.
Right. Okay.
So I don't trust anyone really, because there's a clinic that I like, but I only go there when I'm like super duper sick. And I trust them enough to know that they'll like get me back, but I don't go there every time I'm supposed to.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let me change the way I was going to say what I was going to say. Okay, so there are some ways to kind of get around that by working with doctors that you know are familiar with working with people, I don't know, that are positive or that use drugs or whatever. So like there's a lot of different clinics that target those kind of populations. And so people are just so used to working with those individuals. And so there are kind of ways that, you know, if you're interested in that in the future, we could talk about maybe getting the steps to get you connected to one of those kind of places that you might have a little less judgment from someone. Yeah. And maybe even the clinic that you go to sometimes now. I mean, I'm not sure if do you feel like it's kind of like a clinic targeting young people with HIV and?
You know, I don't really know. Like every time I'm there, I'm like pretty sick. So I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I've seen other people there who look like they're kind of going through some stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, they have never been super judgmental. They just like constantly try to like set up appointments for me, and it's like I can't make that.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be kind of hard too when you go and you're not feeling great, like you're going when you're, really, really sick, and they're kind of trying, I bet I could imagine, to kind of get these appointments to get you to feel better. And at the same time, it's hard to do all of those appointments at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe, at least getting an idea of what kind of services they have there, if they do have mental health services. Um, it might be a good idea to have an idea of what there is there if you were to want to do that in the future.
Yeah, I could do that. It's close. Well, it's close to where I'm staying now, so I could do that.
Yeah, just so that you have it in your back pocket in case you want to pursue these things.
Yeah.
One day. So as we kind of wrap up today, I want to think about, of all the things we kind of chatted about when it comes to mental health, which one do you think is it still, well, like, let me just ask kind of broadly, like, which one do you think if it changed today, things would be a lot better? I asked that the first session, but I'm curious if it's the same thing or if it's changed.
I mean, I think if I had a job, things would be a lot better.
Yeah. Then you could have more stability and a place to stay. Yeah.
Yeah, and a routine.
Sure.
Like now, I kind of have a routine just because the person I'm staying with wakes up and goes to work, and so like I hear him getting up and stuff like that, so I wake up. But once he's gone, I just have like a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Or sometimes like if he needs us out so that he can do whatever, then yeah, there's just like there's no established routine.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So a job, that's a big one.
Yeah.
All right. So
You said something earlier about like a social worker who could help with like housing, and job, and food, and maybe like like mental health and stuff. Where would I find someone like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are a lot of different organizations in the city that offer those kind of supports through either a social worker or sometimes it's called like a case manager, right? So those resources can be at all kinds of places like AHP. Have you heard of that before?
No. Is there one in Oakland?
There's one here in San Francisco, but there's probably some other resources very similar to it in Oakland where you're at. So what I will do is I will look at what the resources are there in the East Bay that are kind of similar to this. And I'll send you a link to some of the case management services there. But that's a really good way to kind of get connected with someone who could help you find like housing support that's available in the East Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that could be something that, after we go over the next kind of session that everybody gets next week, the week after that, we can really dedicate a whole one into talking about those housing resources if you'd like.
I would. Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll make sure to put that on our to-do list of like things that we'll definitely go over is how to get connected with those case management services, how to find, jobs, housing, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for today you want to talk about or?
No. I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for calling in and, talking freely, and we'll meet the same time next week.